Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. And welcome to this special YouTube live session where we'll be diving in deep into a very important topic: how our bodies store trauma and the hidden impact on your health. If this is your first time here, I'm Diana, and I'm excited to explore this very crucial topic with you. Um, yeah. So please, when you join the live, kindly click on the like button and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching the replay, you're going to have an impactful hour, I promise you. So please make sure you watch it to the end. So, yeah, welcome. Like I said, I'm Diana, and I'm excited to explore this crucial conversation with you all. Now, trauma affects us all in one way or another, whether we're aware of it or not. And in today's live session, we're going to learn how it impacts both our mind and body, and more importantly, what we can do about it. So, for me, this topic really hits close to home because I recently went through a traumatic incident at work. And if you work in mental health, you'll know that encountering such situations is not uncommon because we support individuals with intense emotional, psychological, or behavioral issues. And this support that we provide often brings us face to face with traumatic experiences. So, as we carry on, I just wanted you to know that trauma can be stored in your muscles, it can impact your nervous system, and it can also cause long term physical and emotional health problems. So, if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck in life or why certain triggers affect your body, this session is for you. But before we dive in, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share this live stream with anyone who you think could benefit from this conversation. So we'll make a start now. And as part of our introduction, we're going to be defining trauma. I'm sure that you would have heard the word trauma countless times. But what exactly is trauma? Trauma is often thought of as a single major event, maybe like a car accident, a natural disaster, or even a violent experience. Now, while these are indeed examples of trauma, trauma can also result from ongoing stress or emotional situations such as childhood neglect, emotional abuse, or chronic illness. In short, trauma is any deeply distressing or disturbing experience that overwhelms the body's ability to cope. Now, to elaborate further, here are some key definitions. So, trauma can be broken down into three main types. We've got acute trauma, which stems from a single distressing event, such as an accident or maybe physical assault. We've got chronic trauma, which occurs when a person experiences prolonged stress over time, such as ongoing domestic abuse or bullying. And then we've got complex trauma. This one happens when someone experiences multiple traumatic events, often of an interpersonal nature, such as repeated abuse or violence. Now, how do our bodies store trauma? Our bodies store trauma in several ways, both physically and emotionally, and this is due to the complex relationship between the mind and the body. So one of the ways in which this works is nervous system activation. So when trauma occurs, our bodies usually enter what is called a fight, flight, or freeze mode. Now, this is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. And if this trauma isn't fully processed or resolved, the body can remain in this heightened state, leading to chronic stress or hypervigilance. Another way in which our bodies store trauma is through muscle tension. So, trauma often manifests as tension in our muscles. Or going back to the nervous system's role, when we experience trauma, our nervous system reacts by activating this fight, flight, or freeze mode, like I mentioned. And this is an automatic survival mechanism that prepares the body to respond to danger. Now, while this is a good thing in the short term, long-term exposure to trauma can cause our nervous systems to get stuck in this hypervigilant state. And this leads to chronic stress, anxiety, and difficulty regulating our emotions. The next one is muscle memory. Now, trauma can also be stored in your muscles. Have you ever noticed that after a very stressful day, your shoulders, your neck, or your jaw feel tight? That's because your body is literally holding on to the tension created by the trauma. In extreme cases, this tension can cause long term issues like fibromyalgia, it can cause chronic pain, and it can cause headaches. Now, for the benefit of those who may not know, fibromyalgia, also called fibromyalgia syndrome, is a long term condition that causes pain all over the body. Now, moving on to the third, our body store trauma and it manifests through hormonal impact. So, when you experience trauma, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol and adrenaline. And these are meant to give you a short burst of energy to handle that threat. But when you're exposed to ongoing trauma, these hormones stay elevated, and this can lead to issues like depression, anxiety, weight gain, and even problems with digestion or sleep. The fourth way our body stores trauma is through emotional and somatic memory. The body can remember trauma through emotional or physical sensations, even if the mind doesn't consciously recall it. That is why certain triggers, such as smells, sounds, or environments, can lead to physical reactions such as heart palpitations or nausea. Um, Unresolved trauma or stored trauma can also lead to immune system suppression. So, chronic stress from unresolved trauma can weaken our immune systems. Your body is constantly in survival mode, in quotes, which means that it can't devote resources to keeping you healthy. So, this can lead to more frequent illnesses and infections. So, what am I trying to say? Prolonged trauma weakens the immune system, making the body more vulnerable to illnesses and infections. Now, trauma also has an impact on our digestive systems. Chronic stress from stored trauma can affect the digestive system. It can lead to issues such as irritable bowel syndrome. It can lead to indigestion. It can lead to stomach pain. And it can also lead to loss of appetite. So, if you've ever noticed that when you're stressed, your stomach gets upset, that's because your digestive system is directly linked to your nervous system. Now, moving on, let's go into the hidden impact of stored trauma on your health. Now, what does this mean? All of this that I've just mentioned, what does it all mean for your overall health? When trauma is stored in your body, it doesn't just affect your mind, it impacts every part of you, so both physically and emotionally. Now, let's break down some of the hidden impacts. One of it is that it can lead to chronic health conditions. People who experience unresolved trauma are more likely to develop chronic health conditions like heart disease, like diabetes, and other autoimmune diseases. And this is largely because the body is in a constant state of stress, and this wears down our vital systems over time. The second one is that unresolved trauma can lead to mental health struggles. That's one of the hidden impacts because stored trauma is often at the root of a lot of mental health issues like anxiety, depression, PTSD, that's post traumatic stress disorder, and even addiction. Now, these conditions arise because the brain and the body are not able to fully process that trauma. Another hidden impact of trauma on our bodies is emotional regulation. So, when trauma isn't processed, it can interfere with your ability to regulate your emotions. So, you find that you may feel irritable, you may feel easily triggered, you may even have mood swings. And this happens because your nervous system is constantly on high alert. Another way in which stress impacts our health is through behavioral patterns. So many people who carry trauma develop behavioral patterns that are self protective. But even though these patterns are self protective, they are harmful in the long run because it can lead them to withdrawing from relationships, it can lead them to avoiding certain activities, which perhaps remind them of the trauma, or self sabotage. So I know that one question you'll be thinking is how then can we release and heal from trauma or heal trauma? Um, Thankfully, while trauma can have a profound impact on our bodies, on our health, it can also be healed. Now, let's talk about some effective methods that we can use to release trauma from the body and restore balance to our minds and our physical health. One of it, and the most important, I think, or one of the most effective ways, is therapy. It's very effective in helping us to process trauma, particularly when methods such as CBT, that's cognitive behavioral therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, and somatic experiencing. These are forms of therapy, methods of therapy that are effective in helping to process trauma. These approaches, what they do is they help you not only talk about the trauma, but also reconnect with your body and release the tension that is stored in your body. Another way that we can process our trauma and heal from it is through mind body practices, such as yoga and meditation. These are excellent ways to help your body release trauma, because what these practices do is they focus on breath control, they focus on body movement, and they focus on mindfulness, which can help calm the nervous system and release tension from the muscles. The third way that you can heal from trauma is through physical exercise. It might sound really simple, but it's regular physical activity such as running, dancing, swimming, you name it. They can help release stored energy and tension. Exercise stimulates the production of endorphins, and endorphins are natural stress relievers and mood boosters. So you can understand how important physical exercise is in releasing stored energy, stored tension, and trauma. The fourth one is through breath work, breathing exercises. This is another powerful tool that can help to release trauma. Deep breathing techniques would help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps our body relax and release stored stress. Um, if you're a very creative person or you love the arts, creative expression is one of the ways that you can help to heal from trauma. Art therapy, music, journaling, these can also be helpful tools for expressing and processing emotions that are related to trauma. These activities, what they do is that they help you to access and release feelings that might otherwise remain buried or stored in your body. Um, the last one is grounding techniques. So, grounding techniques like walking barefoot in nature, using sensory items, focusing on the present moment. All of these can help bring your body out of the trauma response and back into a state of calm. So, to recap, we've talked about what trauma is, we've defined trauma, we talked about the types of trauma, we talked about how our body systems store trauma, we talked about the hidden impact on our health. And then we've talked about some effective methods for releasing trauma from the body and restoring balance to our minds and our physical health. Today's live stream is not going to be very long. Um, if you've got any questions, we've covered quite a lot of ground today, even though it's a very brief live session. But I'm sure that you might have questions or thoughts that you might want to share. I'd love to hear from you. Pop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have. Even if you're not watching live, whenever you watch the replay, if you've got any questions that you or any thoughts you would like to share, please leave them in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I see them, as soon as I can. So, thank you so much for joining this important conversation on how our bodies store trauma and its hidden impact on our health. Now, even if you don't take anything away from this video, I want you to remember that while trauma can deeply affect us, there are many ways to heal and regain control over your body and your mind. So it's not like once you get exposed to trauma that's it, you would never heal from it. No, there are so many ways to heal and regain control over your body and your mind. If you found this session helpful, please make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And also, don't forget to check out our other videos on mental health awareness and general health and nursing topics. And like I said, feel free to comment or reach out if you've got any further questions. I'm just going to check the chat box to see if there are any questions. And if not, then we will end this live session here. So, in the absence of any questions, thank you so much and take care of yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Bye.